We got gashed in the run game because we relied too much on that damn wide 9 look from Eric Fields. That wide 9 did not look good. Let's get into it, man. Let's get into the D-line. So obviously, initially in the beginning of that Detroit game, the D-line was getting gashed, and it was that wide 9 look. They made Williams look like a superstar, and I was like, yo, I forgot they even had Williams on the team. Like, I thought he was still in Green Bay, and then Swift had a big game, and then obviously they made the change, or D'Amico made the change and got out of that wide 9, and it tightened things up. But my question to you is, now Kinlaw seems like that injury is going to be a lingering one, and he might not play, in the near future. So especially against the run and just overall, what does the D-line need to do to consistently be dominant? Because like you were prefacing earlier, the D-line has to be the key to everything to help out the secondary. Because if the D-line doesn't do its job, then now all of a sudden the weaknesses that we might have in the secondary are going to be exposed. So tell us a little bit about what you saw from the D-line and what they need to do moving forward to just be the dominant D-line that we all expect them to be.
First and foremost, man up. Hey, I'm telling you, I'm at the bar watching the game, and I'm like, what's going on with all these big runs up the middle? What's going on? It was happening in preseason a little bit too, because Kinlaw really wasn't there. I mean, but my thing is, in the wide 9 should be used for passing downs, because the wide 9, the first word is wide. Why the word wide? Because your splits are wider on the defensive line. The gaps are that much bigger.
So that puts a lot of pressure on the linebackers.
The linebackers, yes, the linebackers. Yeah. Got to run downhill. And see, the job of the defensive linemen are to keep the linebackers clean. You see what I'm saying? But in a wide 9, it's much easier to get double teamed because there's so much more space to work with. And actually, if you watch the game, I saw the D-line slanting a lot. Only thing I don't like about slanting my D-line is if the running back's patient, as long as they wait, the cutback lane is always there. See, look, you get that one out there. See? Yeah. So,
Can I ask you one question before you go off, Kev? Can you tell us what the benefits of the wide 9 is? Because why do they play that? Like, what is I guess, in the coach's mind? Why go to the wide 9 when there's so many, I guess, holes there for, especially with the rushing attack like Detroit, that's their strength, is their rushing attack. Why go wide 9 when you know they're going to run the ball?
Okay, wide 9 does a couple things for you. I'll start with the edge first, because if you notice in the wide 9, the 5 tech or 5, 7, or 9 tech, whoever that may be, that's far off the line, there's a lot of space between him and the tackle. Mm-hmm. So there's that much more room for you to, fake inside, go outside, fake outside, go inside, or maneuver right. So
and usually that's one of the speed rushers, right?
Right, exactly. So the wide 9 is catered for speed rushers. And you ask me passing downs. I'm not going to run a wide 9 on first down or in base. Nah, because they can gas you up the middle. And so my thing is, if you're going to run a wide 9, you better make sure your 2 D tackles is dogs and eating up space, because now there's that much more space to eat up. And actually plays like a delay, a draw, things like that work great against a wide 9 because they're upfield, body on the body, just run the daylight. So the wide 9, man, unless it's a passing down, and even then, based upon the down and distance, I wouldn't go with it. I mean, it's just too susceptible to the run. And so if you notice, them boys are getting double teamed a lot. They ran a lot of traps on Sunday, a lot of traps, double teaming the 3 techs. So it's a lot to clean up. And Kinlaw normally eats up double teams and still makes a play.
Right.
So I'm gonna need guys like Zach Kerr.
Zach Kerr.
Hey, Kentavious Street did all right. I liked him on Sunday too. Yeah. Givens, DJ Jones, come on, big boys, let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, big boys unite. Let's go. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah, Mook actually asked, did DJ Jones play against Detroit? I don't remember seeing him. He actually did start Mook, but unfortunately, you are right. He was non-existent in the game, and that's not a good thing, obviously. Especially if he's going to be starting there in the middle. Yeah.
They was getting watched right on down out the play. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of that was just being moved off your point and then the running backs taking the cutback lanes. You know,
Right.
and then of course you would think the linebackers can come downhill, but if the D line ain't doing their job, now you got somebody in your face.
Right.
Especially if the man in front of you on the ground, you can't do nothing when you OTG. One of my coaches always say, you can't do shit when you OTG. OTG is on the ground.
That's true.
You can't do nothing when you OTG. And most of our D line spent most of that day OTG in the beginning of that game.
So tell us what needs to change. I know you said man up, but let's go a little more in depth about X's and O's. How does this defensive line, with the talent of Bosa, Ford, Armstead, Ebicon, Jones, Kentavious Street, on and on and on and on, how does this D line consistently be a dominant D line, especially with the need now with our some of our corner, our biggest corner, obviously in Barrett going down, and then Mosley still kind of hobbling around. So what does this D line need to change?
I'm gonna start with the interior D line, and they didn't look bad because I talked to them up pretty good.
I know that was your.
You know what I'm saying?
Kev was the biggest cheerleader for that interior D line.
I'm like, yo, but no, seriously, if from what I saw was right, and they did a lot of slanting that last game, hey, D'Amico, just play it straight up because it's a slant's too risky, a twist is too risky, especially with your back to the offense. Just play it straight up. And as far as the D linemen in themselves, beat the man in front of you. Beat the man in front of you. And what I used to tell my guys on defense is, if you catch a double team, just drop. Because long as you in your gap, you good. So you think about it, if I get double team from my left and they're trying to push me on my gap, if I drop my knee and I kind of just fall, now at least you fall in your gap. You know what I'm saying? So man up, beat the man in front of you, go away from that wide nine as much as possible, especially on running downs, because it's hurting when helping. And just be more physical. Be more physical. I tell my kids when I coach, be first, be fast, be physical.
Who do you feel should be on the D line? Who would be your ideal matchup of players on the D line? Like how would you want your base package to look? How would you want your pass rush downs to look?
If it was me, and I'm a DJ Jones fan too, but I give DJ first crack. So I'm going DJ and Kinlaw in the middle.
Well, Kinlaw's out, right? So Kinlaw's out.
Okay. So Kinlaw and Kerr. Or
you mean DJ? So you'd start DJ. Kerr over Street
in the run game, yes.
So on base downs, you'd want Kerr in there.
It's a bigger body, right? Uh-huh. I really don't like Armstead on the edge. Armstead about slowest payday. So as far as him getting pressure on the edge, as far as a pass rush, I don't really like it. He's a natural 3-tech. You ask me. He was a 3-4 defensive end, which is more like a 3-tech. So anyway, I want to see Armstead in the middle because he big, he long. So guys like Armstead, DJ Jones, Kerr, Givens in the middle. I want to see Sosa, Ford, Key, Bosa on the edge. You know what I'm saying? So just crowd the middle as much as possible. And if you got to, send a double A gap blitz. If you got to, send a double A gap blitz.
So I've wondered why, with Kinlaw going down, why not start DJ Jones and Armstead in the middle and have Ebicom and Bosa on the outside in your base downs? Well, most people kind of have been like answering me back because I think that'd be the best fix. But they said Armstead just can't stop the run. Is that what you see, or do you think he has the talent to be able to stop the run?
I trust him more versus the run in the middle than versus the pass on the edge. I mean, I don't know if that answers your question the way you want to answer, but that's just me.
So you kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's kind of just like a crapshoot.
Yeah. Listen,
you're not that high on Armstead, huh?
You know what, man? No. I don't think he's terrible, but he's not a pass rusher. Guys like if we historically, if you look at the way we drafted, and this is not in no particular order, both him, Defoe, and Solomon Thomas all got a bad rap because they all were supposed to be the second coming of Alden Smith saying, "Oh, here's our pass rush guy." They were none of the three were pass rush guys, but because of injuries in those years, they were forced to try to be pass rush guys. All three of them guys are better in the middle, so they kind of got a bad rap, man. But Armstead, like I said, he definitely is best in the middle. I mean, what, he's 6'7", long arms. I mean, come on, man, dominate. Long as his pad level was good, he should be from an anchor down in the middle. So like I said, Bosa, Ford, Key, Sosa, those are my guys on the edge.
I agree with Armstead being in the middle, that edge not working for him. I agree, man. I agree, Mook the villain. And I think that when we need a stop, and they used this, in when they needed that stop against Detroit to close out the game. For D Ford, Bosa, Ebicom all out there at the same time, and that there where you could run some stunts, you could run some that's too much talent on the defensive line to be able, for any offensive line really, to be able to focus on. But let's get back to, especially let's focus on with the D-line on this upcoming game with Philly, because I think a lot of people.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Real quick. Just to address Armstead again. One of the main reasons they have Armstead out there on edge and base downs, even though he's not a pseudo pass rusher, one thing he does well is set the edge most times. He sets the edge pretty well. He's just not going to get you a lot of sacks. You know what I'm saying? So in base, they have Armstead at the defensive left D end. But in terms of pass rushing capability and mode, he's not a pass rush type guy. He'd be better off in the middle. And I just want to address that, because if you see when games start, he's in base downs, he's out there left of his domain.
Yeah, so what they did is they started Armstead, DJ Jones, Kentavious Street, and Bosa was the base down. So, right. I mean, that's fine. I mean, Kentavious Street, I think, is more of a pass rusher than a run stopper. But he showed out in the offseason, so he deserves to be starting there. But he got a sack. He got him a sack. He got a sack, yeah. Let's kind of focus in on this D-line, especially with this upcoming game with the Eagles, because a lot of, the faithful on Twitter and whatnot, it's kind of looking past how talented the trenches are for the Eagles. They have a really good defensive line, a really good offensive line. They got back Lane Johnson. They got back one of their guards, Brandon. I forget the last name. They just re-upped their left tackle, who's a big left tackle. So this offensive line is healthy for the Eagles. They had been dealing with a lot of injuries last season, which is why they were down as a team overall. How does this defensive line match up with the Philadelphia offensive line? And what do they need to do specifically with the mobile quarterback like Jalen Hurts, which has been the 49ers' Achilles heel for the last few years on defense?
I'm a little more worried this week than I was last week because of a la Jalen Hurts as a mobile quarterback. Two worries for me as far as keeping him where he at in the pocket: stay home. I don't know if it's by design. If you notice, Neil, a lot of times when you see on play fakes, now tell me if you remember the play in particular. There was a play where Goff faked the run, and it came back right, and Key had crashed. So Key had to kind of stop his direction, change direction, trying to come back to pick him up. He was biting on that run fake. Maybe it's by design, but my thing is, stay home. Why are you chasing the play from behind, from your left side defensive end? I call it, as a DC, you being nosy. Your job is outside contain, C-gap your side. Anything over there, unless it come back to you, don't worry about it. And so
you were talking about that. You call it gap discipline, right?
Right. Gap integrity, gap discipline, how you want to call it. But my thing is, though, if I know, I teach all my guys when I'm coaching, if you see action away, if you wait long enough, it's going to be action back. So just stay home. Stay home and come upfield. Stay home. Because had Key sat where he was at, he just sat just like this and just What, 5, 4? Hey,
Right.
Jared Goff, how you doing? I've been waiting for you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and if you do that against Hurts, not only is he gonna have a great passing game, he gonna then have 100 yards rushing because
Right.
all the grass is out there. So my thing is, I'd rather see our DN stay home, play it honest. You know, have more of a control rush than just. And that's one thing about speed rushers, man. Sometimes you're so concerned about getting outside, beating the man outside, that lowercase c gap grows to an uppercase c gap if you get too far upfield. So stay. The word of the day for this game is stay home.
Right. Mook
Stay
the
home.
villain has a question. We need to have Dre Greenlaw spy on Jalen Hurts throughout the game. How do you feel about and we don't know if Dre Greenlaw's playing. He obviously had a little bit of an injury after week 1, but let's say he is healthy. Do you think that we should have a spy on Hurts, or do you think that it should really just be down to the D line and their gap integrity, keeping him in a pocket?
It depends on the formation too, because sometimes you don't have accountability or enough guys to, assign a spy because you got guys in coverage. I mean, but typically I would like somebody. Look, if he sneezes, you need to be close to say, "God bless you," had him a tissue when he sneeze. You know, if he go to the bathroom, you need to pass some toilet paper to him. You know, that's how close you need to be to him. So as far as Hurts, keep him in the pocket. D ends, stay home, crash from C gap. I don't know if I do a lot of two gap in this game. Two gapping meaning you gapping from C to B. Just maintain your C gap and close it down and let the guy side do their thing. So I wouldn't do too much of that. It's called gap exchange. It's called a gap exchange. Typically, when the DN crashes, the will linebacker Sam a loop around and replace him in the C gap. That hasn't been happening.
Right.
So if we can't run a successful gap exchange, play it honest. Stay home with your DN to rush upfield. Stay home and hold your ground.
I think this is going to be, we obviously got brought in Samson Ebicom for these mobile quarterbacks. He's going to be the guy that is
Now
the one
he be
kind
a
of
good spy,
spy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs to have a big game. I think this is where we get to see if, he was worth, bringing him in. I think he had a pretty decent game in week 1. He was disruptive and whatnot, but this is why we needed him, right? We play Russell Westbrook. We play Kyler Murray 4 times a year. Now we got Jalen Hurts, another mobile quarterback. So we need him to have a big game and prove that, we know what we were talking about, bringing him in to kind of help us with that mobile quarterback.
Right. Most definitely.
Could you talk a little bit about what he brings to the table and what he needs to do to make sure, like, as the DN, I know, like, what he needs to do as far as being a DN and a spy at the same time?
You know what? I'm answering that question as well, but if it was me, I'd have Sosa started Sam versus DN because he was playing outside linebacker with the Rams. You know, he was a pass rushing outside linebacker, which he can drop down to,
right.
hand in the ground DN. But I start him at Sam, especially in base. That way you got the coverage ability because he can cover too, and you got his pass rushing capability. So if he blitzes, based upon the formation, if he blitzes, strong safety pick up his guy. But I would start Ibicom at Sam. That way, he's already a couple of yards off the line of scrimmage and can spy if he has to. I mean, if we're going to use him at end, great, but you do have to account for Jalen Hurts if he breaks the pocket. And, to answer your question, hey, man, Sosa is a dog too, man. He can pass rush, he can cover. I mean, there's nothing he can't do.
I like how you call Bosa Sosa, bro. Are you saying, you mean Bosa or Sosa?
No, Sosa. That's his new nickname is Sosa.
Oh. I was like, is he mispronouncing Bosa or you just calling him Sosa?
No, you call him Sosa. You know what I'm saying? You already got Bosa. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I call and not to mention I hate saying his last name and messing up. So I've been calling him Sosa because I saw it somewhere on Twitter or something. They call him Sosa. I like Sosa better.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? So no, seriously, man. And like Casey just said in the last his last message. Yeah. You got Smith and Rager. It's going to be a problem. You see what I'm saying? So, but this is where the pass rush really got to come in handy. Keep him in the pocket, hold up the middle, and give them as least time as possible to find those guys downfield.
Right.
I know it's easier said than done. I mean, but from a fundamental standpoint,
it needs to be done, right? Because this is going to be a makeshift. Whomever, like if Mosley isn't in, whomever starts opposite Lenore, out of the guy, like they're all going to be people that haven't been with the team either that long, or not necessarily the most talented cornerback there, right? So the defensive line needs to be extremely dominant. Otherwise, if Hurts has time, with those receivers and their speed, even though they're young, they had big games last week. And I know it was Atlanta, but still, these guys have talent. These guys are young receivers. And we don't need a quarterback that could just sit back there and, just pick the back end of the defense apart. So I definitely need to see the defensive line really step up. Otherwise, it's going to be a long game. And I think a lot of people are overlooking how good the Eagles can be, how much talent they actually have. Like I said, that defensive line, I think their defensive line is the most underrated defensive line in the game. And their offensive line is much better just because they've got back all of their stars that were out injured last season. Go ahead, Kev. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm just saying this. Look, man, you see what happened in Detroit. That should have been, pretty much the score that it was before the game ended. That's what 41-17.
Yeah.
Because, and I was mad too. Because I think I told you I picked 37-17. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden I'm like, yo, they messed up my prediction. But no, my point is, this game will get out of hand a whole lot faster than it did last week against Detroit with Philadelphia if we made the same mistakes.
Gotcha.
So, but the good thing is, it's a lot of film to watch from last week. So, I mean, I would have been eating, sleeping, and drinking this film from last week to prepare for Philadelphia.
And this is going to be on the coaches, right? I felt like the coaches had, in the second half, didn't have the best game. I thought some of the decision-making was off. You've been talking a lot about Kyle Shanahan and his decision-making with how to use Trey. I thought that D'Amico Ryans going into that kind of prevent, soft zone, whatever it was, helped the Detroit get back into the game. So we need to see this coaching staff actually evolve as well, and make some better decisions, because they're not going to get away with the same mistakes against the Eagles. Eagles have a lot more talent than Detroit, and even though they have
all gas, no break.
Exactly.